I'm so excited, guys. I have Maxine Bodetti here. She is an amazing human being who you are going to absolutely love just as much as I do. She is an entrepreneur, mom, and I'd say you're an influencer too on Instagram. She is the owner of New England Floridian, and you could talk more about what you do, Maxine. But welcome to Grammas Leadership Podcast.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited.
Yeah, so can you tell us a little bit about what you do with your business, New England Floridian?
Sure. So, New England Floridian started as just a personal blog on Instagram. I was just sharing my everyday mom life, affordable fashion, looks, style tips. I'm from Connecticut, originally born and raised, so the New England aspect, but now a true Floridian. I've been here almost 10 years now in Florida. So that's where the name comes from. And so my Instagram started to grow. I started to work with national brands and boutiques and other businesses to help them out with their branding and marketing and style and buying. And I knew that I wanted to have my own clothing brand, my own business. So the New England Floridian Collective is my online clothing brand.
Yay, that's awesome. So I love talking to working moms, entrepreneurs, people like you that have had to build something out of nothing and kind of I want to get to maybe give everybody an understanding of what that took. So when you decided, I think you were working for a company, right? And then you made a decision that you wanted to leave. Kind of, what was the impetus for wanting to leave?
So I think that, and I'm sure so many people can relate with this, that you get to a point in, your career, or maybe you're doing something that you're passionate about, and maybe, you're doing it for someone else. And just that desire to have something that is your own, to start something from nothing and to fully say, like, this is mine. Everything that went into this is my decision. This is what I created. And I think that after a lot of conversations with my husband and always talking about this desire to have my own brand and to start something, he finally one day was like, well, when are you going to do it? If not tomorrow, then when?
Yeah.
When? And finally, I was like, okay, like, you're right. Like, I have to do this. What's the phrase my grandmother would say, shit or get off the pot. So,
Right. I love it. It's so true, right? But it can be so scary in that moment though, you know?
yeah.
So how did you overcome that? I mean, was there fear there?
I mean, of course, there's always that fear of failure. I think that my whole life I've always been so goal oriented and goal driven. There's always been things I wanted to accomplish in life. Growing up with a single mom who worked multiple jobs to hustle for my brother and I, she was always grinding. I think that a lot of her work ethic is just in my DNA. And so it wasn't hard to figure out what I needed to do to hit my goals and to get there. Um, I'm a wife, I'm a mom of two little kids, 5 and 6 years old. I am also a board member for a nonprofit. I'm the chief development officer for a local human trafficking nonprofit. I always I feel like I always have to have my hands in a million things at once. I'm happiest. I guess I'm thriving when I'm busy and when I have a lot of things going on. So in a way, it made sense starting my own business.
Yeah.
And my husband was so supportive and was absolutely like, go for it, that you got this.
So tell us a little bit about what it was like early on. How long has it been since you've had your own business?
So I launched my business earlier this year, just in January.
Wow. Okay, that's
Yeah.
crazy. So you've already achieved a good amount of success in a short amount of time. So I would love for you to kind of walk us through because you had two young children, and that's just a lot of responsibility, a lot of time dedicated, to dedicated time, of course, just to have children. How did you do it? What did it entail for you? What did it look like?
I think that having, as I mentioned, like those set goals and the steps that you need to take to get you there is, first and foremost, really important.
So
And
let's break that
I,
down first. I'm sorry. What was your top goal when you first started?
so I set a financial goal for myself. Like, okay, my first month in business, I am going to sell X amount of dollars. And that was like, I broke down the first 6 months, like every month, what I wanted to hit financially. So each month increasing that goal from the previous month, at least like 25%. And I had that written down on like everything. So on all my notebooks, on my computer, on everything, it was like that number. So it was something that I saw every day and was looking at.
So you're
So it was
focusing
always,
on a lot.
yeah. So almost it's like manifesting, that
Yes.
number, but keeping it, I'm my husband always makes fun of the fact that I'm a list queen. I have a list for everything. I'm always listing things out. I always have a to-do list. Thank God Alexa has all of our shopping lists, and it's so easy to just say like, Alexa, add trash bags to the shopping
Yeah. Is
list. Oh.
that Alexa? Oh, I didn't hear. That's so funny.
That's so funny. But yeah, so I think being clear on the financial goal was really important for me off the bat. And then also the fact that my business is right now, and the plan that I started my business was exclusively online. So knowing that there wasn't going to be a brick and mortar, how am I going to spread word about my online business? So my social media presence needs to be strong. And then it's networking, it's word of mouth, it's getting out there. So even back when I was building my New England Floridian, just my influencer brand.
Yeah, take us back to
I
that. I'm dying to know what your kind of your recipe for success was because I just the reason I want to bring this up, I think it's important because there's a lot of nowadays you can't do anything or market your business without being on social media. You can't. That's the marketing of today. And I know myself, I'm older than you, right? And I didn't ever feel comfortable with it. And now I put myself out there more, but it feels like a full-time job. So it can feel daunting and overwhelming. And from what I've heard, it's consistency is key and just continue, 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 even when you feel like you're not getting anywhere. But I want to hear, and a lot of people can't do that or don't do that because we want
Mhm.
results tomorrow, right? So I want to hear about what that looked like for you. And that's why I loved that you kind of talked to us about, okay, I had this dollar goal and I focused on it, like the manifesting, right? And then what?
Mhm. Yeah, I would say that I don't think there is one necessarily like what's the secret sauce for social media. What has worked for me, I started in 2020. In 2020, I decided that my New England Floridian Instagram was going to grow to that influencer status. And I was dedicated to that. So, number one, it was consistency, it was posting, it was sharing my life. And then I quickly realized what was getting more focus was the real aspect of my life. So for every beautiful filtered styled picture I was posting in my feed, in my stories, you were going to see me in the morning, doing drop off with the kids with slippers on and no makeup and looking, just like a normal everyday mom, and that unfiltered, real life. So, and I think I really dedicated myself to sharing that. So, as for every pretty picture you would see, you would also just get the real side of me and sharing my life in that aspect. I
So
think that,
stop you for a second. So would you
yeah,
just do that on your story or would you post that as well?
I would post that as well, but not as often as what would go into my story. So kind of like you click on my bio, you're gonna see where it says like complete realness and stories, like welcome to my real life in stories. And then when I'm posting out on my feed, you're gonna see, pictures of the kids and cute outfits and some great links. But what has really grown, and I'm so excited to say that I've hit 40,000 followers this week,
Congratulations.
which, thank you. I think it is tapping more into the humor aspect of parenting and mom life and being a business owner. I think that a lot of us are going to social media these days to be entertained. And so I have been changing my strategy and focusing on the mom humor and the mom jokes, and just, the for example, when we had hurricane the other weekend, and our septics, our septic tanks decided to overflow, and we had toilets and showers overflowing the house, and here I am shop backing up like an overflow toilet. I'm like posting a little video like, this is real life. Like, we
Yeah.
wanted to be adults so bad, and now look at us. Like, look at us.
Right. Yeah. So, all right. So you decided you wanted to make a certain number. And then you decided I'm going to get to a certain status, an influencer status on Instagram. So
Mm-hmm.
it sounds to me like you committed to showing up daily
Mm-hmm.
and to tweaking as it went and to just putting the work in, because from what I'm hearing, you grew up with a strong work ethic. You like that grind, that getting in there, tenacity, and making it happen. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah, absolutely.
is there another step that you want to share?
I think another like key point, it's really about who you surround yourself with. I am so lucky, not even just the core support system I have at home, like with my husband and my family, but also with my inner circle and my friends. And I can say that in this Southwest Florida area that I live in, I am so fortunate to have these great women who are also like-minded female small business owners or some sort of an entrepreneur. And that it's so great to have women that you can connect with, that if I'm having like a rough day and I need to vent about something, like they understand, they get it, or they're saying like keep going, like motivating me, or they're showing up for me. When I was first starting, I was doing pop-up events everywhere, and it's so great to know that these women, they're going to show up at this event for me, and they're
Oh,
going to support me and help me spread the word. So I think, who you have in your inner circle is really important as well.
what about for people who don't have that? What do you suggest they do?
Network, get, because most of these women I can say I have met in the last few years since starting my business, and we met at a networking event. So, in the beginning when I was just trying to grow my brand, I was saying yes to everything and anything. Any local person who found me on social media and they wanted to meet for coffee or lunch, yes, when and where. Like, this free networking event, or this one I have to pay for, this one's coming up, yes, yes, yes. Just like overbooking networking events, getting out there. I was specifically looking for female networking events. I really wanted to bond with women doing the same, having the same dream that I had. And that really, really was helpful.
I mean, sometimes in the past, when I would think of a networking event, honestly, that would feel like poking, like like sticks in my eyes. I just don't never, I don't know why. And I love connecting with people, but in big groups
Mhm.
like that, and I know that I'm not the only one, it's just can be uncomfortable, which you would never think
Yeah.
to me because I'm so comfortable speaking in front of groups and connecting with people. But I don't know why in a networking event, I've just always felt uncomfortable. Yeah, any recommendations for people like me that don't like to
Yeah.
speak, but need to connect to
Honestly,
stuff?
you have to like embrace that discomfort. Like, you have to get out of your comfort zone, because I remember always dreading like being in school and in college, and presenting and getting called on, and participating and all of that. But if you want to, I really firmly believe that if you want to be successful, and you want to build your brand, and you want to, my brand essentially like is me. Like, I am like the New England Floridian. It's I try to like live, breathe it 100%. So in the beginning, it was forcing myself out of my comfort zone to go to all of these different networking events. but after a while, it just becomes second nature. And then you get past that discomfort. And then, so you're able to just randomly introduce yourself to anyone. And,
So you weren't
you know,
comfortable at first with it?
I would say at first, it's a little awkward. And then of course, I have a unique business where I remember one of the first networking events I was in a room, it was like these women you have they're wedding photographers, they're estheticians, they're like social media marketers. They all had something like a tangible product. And I'm like, well, and this is before I started this, before I even had my online business. And I'm like, well, I'm just New England Floridian. Like I am my own brand. And
They're like, what?
yeah, I'm trying to be, a social media influencer. Like this is all you're getting from me. And, so I remember one of the networking groups, they were matching people up by industry. And then here I was like by myself. And I'm like, that's okay. I'll talk to everyone.
Wow.
I think, just again getting out of that comfort zone, and then you get to the point where it is comfortable. And now, I love it. And you get to see, and you do it locally in your area, some of the same familiar faces, you build those relationships, and then it's smooth sailing from there.
And then everybody helps each other and supports each other and promotes each other.
Yeah.
I think so beautiful. See, because that's been something that I will admit, like it's been a challenge for me, and I'm gonna put myself out there more and do that. You just
I
inspired.
love it.
Yeah, I'm gonna let you know how it goes. So this is, I mean, I feel inspired by you because you're doing what a lot of people want to do. You make it sound easy. I'm sure it wasn't as easy as you make it sound. You had mentioned a story about because your kids are young, right? So when you were
Yeah.
saying yes to everything, what that means you probably have to say no to other things. Talk to me a little bit more about how that showed up for you in your life as you're building the business, or
Yeah,
it still
absolutely.
shows up, right? Because when you're an
hmm
entrepreneur, it's hard to manage your time because you could be there 100% of the time if you let yourself.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I think when people ask me like what I do and who I am and kind of like what my like title is or whatnot, I always say it's like I'm a wife, I'm a mom, I'm an entrepreneur, like third. But it's always a struggle trying to figure out that balance, balance in
Yeah.
quotes, because there is really no balance. But when I was first growing the business, and as I mentioned, those networking events and saying yes to everything, um, when I was doing that early on, and looking back, 2, 3 years ago. So my daughter's 3 years old, my son is 4. They're little, they're still in daycare. My son is like just starting preschool, and the struggles with the most of these events being during like bath and bedtime for my kids. My kids go to bed at 7 p.m.
Yeah.
So it did get to a point where, one day my husband sat down, maybe I was missing like the third bath and, bedtime and book reading that night, where he said, is this a priority? Where are your priorities in life? What really should be your top priority right now? Um, and and of course I had to do some self-reflecting, like, oh my goodness, he's right. Am I going to be, regretful that I'm missing, this precious time with my kids? Like they say that the days are long, but the years are so short. And absolutely, now my kids are in kindergarten and first grade, and it just, you blink and it goes by so fast. So I absolutely had to check myself a little bit and figure out what was going to work with our lifestyle and our schedule. And I'm really grateful that I have a partner who sometimes knows me a little bit better than I do, and he can check me, when I'm doing a million things, and say like, okay, when's the last time, you had a night to just sit and watch TV when you weren't working? Like, you need that in your life. And I'm making it sound, all perfect, and we have a wonderful marriage and a wonderful relationship. But go back, when I was doing all these networking events and lunches and coffee dates and all the times, I remember one day coming home and him being like, I have to be honest with you, like, are you having an affair? Like, are you cheating on me? I never know like where you are, what you're doing. You're always dressed up, you're always going out. I know you're building this business, but I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm concerned and it's
Wow.
making me like second guess us. And then, of course, I felt horrible. It felt so awful that, he would have those reservations and that I could be so selfish building my business that he's neglected and he's thinking the worst case scenario. And so after, these conversations all came out around the same time, missing time with the kids and him not knowing where I was, it was like, okay, what can we do to solve this? And first and foremost, it was just making sure we were communicating better. So the communication of like every morning, even if it's like just literally 2 minutes where he's having coffee and I'm making the kids' lunches, it's like we're going over our day. Which
Yeah.
one of us is doing like drop off for school? Which one is doing pickup? If I can't do either one and he has to do both, then I'm going to do both the next day. And then having a joint calendar just so that we know what events are happening for me and my business. And if I'm not, if I have to miss the kids, right now what I try to do is it's like I'm only giving myself one night a week to miss like their nightly routine. Um, and they go to bed so early, so I just try to push everything. If I have to go to an event and a little bit late to make sure that I can put them to bed, then that's the priority right now.
So it sounds like you're setting more boundaries with your business, which because you have, I love the question that your husband asked. What's your husband's name?
Vinny.
Vinny. I love the question that Vinny asked you because he really helped you to focus on what your number one purpose in life is, what's most important to you.
Mhm.
And as a parent of a 19-year-old and a 15-year-old, I can attest, and just talking about it makes me start to tear up how quickly it does go. I remember when my kids were your kids' age, my mom said it's truly a blink of an eye. And when you're going through it, like you said, the days are long, so it feels like it's going to last forever. But then when they're 18 and they're graduating from high school, you say to yourself, where the hell did the time go? Like, how did this happen? I'm not ready yet, and I wish I did this differently. I don't know if everybody does that, but I did that. And then I was putting all this guilt on myself as a mom, like, and I was a working mom. So
Mhm.
I had a lot of regret. And I think it's beautiful that you have somebody to help you stay accountable to living your purpose and living the way you want to live because he knows you obviously, right? So it is
Mhm.
important to set boundaries, I think, but at the same time, it's a challenge because I agree with you. There is no such thing as balance. There isn't. Like in the 90s, 80s, 90s, women were, I think, sold a bill of goods that we can all have balance. And that's totally not true. Especially if you want to build a business, because it takes your blood, sweat, tears, guts, soul, to really build
Mhm.
business.
I think that if you have a dream and you have that goal and there's something that you want to start and there's obstacles along the way, coming up with a plan and getting organized and figuring at the end of the day what your goals are and what's your why behind what you want to do. And I think we've talked about this in the past. And my my why I came to almost like when I was struggling with, missing time with the kids and prioritizing everything. Well, the reason why I'm doing this is for my children. Like my why is like I'm building an empire that my children can take over. And that's what I am telling myself on the days when I'm tired and I don't want to keep going. I think, growing up, seeing how hard my mom worked, how hard she had to grind to make ends meet for my brother and I don't want my kids to ever see that, but I also want them to see that their mom works hard.
Yeah.
And I want them to also appreciate that you need to work hard for what you want. But at the same token, I don't want them to ever have worries or struggles on, is like, are the lights going to stay on and are we going to have, a nice dinner at the end of the day. So they are my why, and I truly, want this to be and I keep I call it an empire. I'm really like posting it up, but I that's what I feel like I want to build for my children.
But think about it. That's kind of where I think we're going with this is what, because you make it when you were talking about, quitting your job. And then you have this number you want to make, and then you put all this work into it, and then now you have 40,000 followers on Instagram. It's not like it was like bang, 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 right?
Yeah,
So
no.
I think because you are tenacious person who makes your list, right? And, and you're probably really organized and you work really hard. You might make it sound easy, but I have a feeling it wasn't as easy as it sounds, because maybe you're so used to putting the work in that I notice people with because I call it your map, right? And your map is part
Hmm.
of your map is you saw your mom grinding hard. You didn't have a lot of the things, obviously, that you have now, right? And it probably put a fire in your belly. And the way you
Hmm.
operate is I'm a worker. I get things done. And I do what it takes to get things done. Am I off base on that?
No, no, absolutely. You're
Right. And
right.
that probably has gotten you far in life. And that's my biggest strength too. But I think we talked about this before, our biggest weakness is always our biggest strength in overdrive, right? So you're going,
Hmm.
going, 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 going. Sooner or later, something's got to give, right? So I don't know. What does that look like for you? Your biggest strength in overdrive? That's
Yeah, I think absolutely you're right, because I am a hard worker and I'm so driven, and that drive, it can be too much, where the kids go to bed early and then I'm working until midnight every night trying to figure out, what what else do I have to do to meet these goals, and what else needs to get done, and then I'm just almost taking on too much, and then yeah, other things, fall to the wayside, the family time and you know the um the time you need for yourself, and your self-care like goes out the window. That's what always happens to me,
yeah.
is when I'm like, my busiest, and I'm giving, and I don't like to say no. So, again, being on a board for a nonprofit, we're planning a gala right now, and we've got so much going on, and it's, I never want to say no to any of my commitments, but at some point, when, like you said, when you're in that like overdrive mode, you have to take a step back, and it's just prioritizing what needs to get done right now, and then also taking a break. So with my social media presence, you can't be like, 365 days a year posting and out there. So consistency, doesn't mean daily. Like, as long as you're, I think, consistent on a weekly basis. um I'm pretty active in my stories, but I've taken breaks when there's been, my grandmother passed away and my grandfather, like both in a span of a few months. It was like that I needed a break, and there's certain things that I don't want to share out with my audience. So it
Yeah.
was like, okay, this is just, I'm going to take a little bit of a reset, and I just let everyone know, like, I'm fine, I'm here. I'm just going to take some time to focus on me and my family, and I'll be back, raring to go in a few weeks. And I
Yeah.
think that's really important.
That's good for people to know because it can feel so stressful, I feel like, to always have to be on social media. I know for
Mhm.
me, it gives me anxiety. I don't know. So I have to figure out a better way to do it. Yeah. So when you're in overdrive and what I thought about it when you were saying about when you're up till midnight, you're, kind of in that overdrive. It's kind of a catch 22 because your number one priority and your purpose is your kids, right?
Mhm.
Want to build the empire for your kids, but sometimes building that empire requires you to not connect and be with the kids as much as you need to be with the kids. So it's kind of like a catch 22. And I think it's every day being present and being mindful of what matters today.
Mhm.
And someone like, not that we're planning on coaching you, but someone with your map, you do have to be more mindful because, and me, and I'm in the same group as you, is because we could become workaholics. Like we could easily do that because we get some benefit, we get some positive feeling out of doing the work, I think. And it
Hmm.
would be easy, not easy, but like easier maybe for us than others to just keep going when you know you need a break or when you know you need to spend more time with your kids. Does that sound right? Or
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I think because so much of my business is online and virtual, and I can do so many things on my phone, it gets tough when it's time where I should be watching my daughter like in dance class or gymnastics and I'm multitasking on my phone. And actually a few years ago, like before I had my business, just when my husband and I we realized we were in a rut with each other on our phones when like the kids were babies and we'd put them to bed and then we're sitting on the couch and then we're not even talking. We're just scrolling on our phones for like an hour. And so we started actually a catchphrase and we still will occasionally use it, but if we notice the other person is just in la la land on their phone when they need to be present, we just like nudge the other person. We say, be where your feet are. And then as soon as like we say that phrase, we just like, oh, you're right. And the phone goes away. And then we're like
okay.
where we need to be. So that has helped us. And it's something that, again, like we still occasionally use. I mean, it might be like we're at a family dinner or something. And my husband loves playing games on his phone. And so, I see that the vibe is like people are picking up that he's like totally not present and on his phone. And I'm like, bro, like, be where your feet are. And he's just like,
Yeah.
oh, like, yeah.
It's almost like you get that nudge. Yeah, that's good. That's good you guys have that. Because you seem to make it look easy, you're obviously a human being, and I would love you to just tell us honestly, like, have you experienced any negative emotions, whether it's anxiety, stress, worry around building your business?
I think, I mean, absolutely. There's been plenty of times where I have that like self-doubt, like, is what my vision and what I'm creating good enough? Are people gonna like what I'm putting out there? But early on, when I started growing in social media, I had to really like look at that straight on and ask myself, do I care what others think or do I not? Am I gonna like let these things hold me back or am I just gonna say it doesn't matter you can't please everyone? And I really took the higher road with that because well with social media when I'm posting reels or videos or pictures whatever footage from my life you're always going to get those people who they love you or they hate you. You're going to get, the trolls comments. You're going to get the people that are, judging you, what kind of mom you are.
You've had that?
And
Had people make comments like that?
oh, yeah, I mean, I get comments like that all the time, but that goes with the territory and that goes with what I'm doing and what I agreed to. And if you want to grow on social media, you have to accept that these people are going to see what you're doing and you're going to get, uninvited criticism and I'm sure, like early on, like I remember some comments about me, being a bad mom or like how,
Mhm.
how could you do this? Like really like hitting me hard. And then just being like, I don't even know this person and they don't know me and I'm not a bad mom. And so it doesn't matter. And it was, it was fairly easy for me to overcome. But I do know, I have a lot of friends in the similar boat with social media and I know they struggle with that. But I just try to I guess as my mom says, she says I do a really good job of compartmentalizing it and
Yes.
realizing like it's almost like it's part of my work and it comes with the territory and I'm not going to please everyone and that's okay. It's not going to change what I do and what I put out there. But when you get, I have a few viral reels that are in like the 30 million views. Of course, you're going to get the
Oh,
people.
yeah.
I mean, you could, but it's like I don't even have the time to scroll through those thousands of comments of I did a just a joking reel where I pretended like I was burning sage and the kids were choking and I called them demons. The kids weren't even in the room. Like the
Oh,
kids were
my.
They weren't even in the house. It was a joke.
Yeah, it's a
And
joke. Hello.
yeah, and I have so many people coming at me like you're inviting demons in, and
Oh
how
God.
could you call children demons? They're your children. They came from you. It's like, you know what? These kids are demons sometimes, but
Come live with
and
me
I
and see
just
what it's
love
like.
that.
I love
Yeah, and you know what? Like just because I'm not too embarrassed to say it, like everyone's
Yeah.
thinking it, but I'm
Everybody
like,
feels that
no,
with their kids from time to time. Are you
yeah,
kidding me? And you love your kids. It's not, it's a, the thing that I find is people can't take jokes a lot of the time. And
yeah,
that's,
yeah.
but so that's funny because when I first published my book, I got lots of great positive reviews, right? And then I got one bad review. And I'm sure
Oh
I'll get
no.
plenty more bad reviews, right? I mean, you're good, it's
Hmm.
territory, but I was new to it. I was a review, bad review virgin. So I was like practically crying. I was like, nobody loves my book. I suck. It's all that self-doubt that's under the surface comes up. And
Hmm.
it's just like that is such a huge, I think, thing for for me, almost every one of my clients, even people who seem like they're very um who have a high confidence level, we still have moments of
Of
self-doubt.
course, of
And
course.
I love how you were able to talk yourself through it and to really put it in perspective that number one, this person doesn't even know me. Number two,
Hmm.
I'm a good mom. Like, so it's like you almost have to talk yourself through it. But I find for myself, it does get easier, but you also have to continue to remind yourself at times because we're all going to have moments where we're tired or we're not feeling our best or that self-doubt can creep in. If you find that it creeps in now, is there anything else you do, or is it just continue to kind of talk yourself through it?
Yeah, and I think also like I'll lean on like I'll talk to some of my other mom friends about it. I mean, so my kids they go to a private Catholic school, and I know that I am very different than a lot of the other moms that go there who they don't work and they are, and I try to be as involved as I can and volunteer at the school and help out with, when they have events and they need sponsorship. But, I am frequently met with some of the other moms who they have a lot more time to dedicate to these things. And I still, I get those moments and I'm like, oh man, like, I hope, the kids don't think that I am not putting enough into their lives and their school and their education. And, but I'll call my best friend and I'll tell her, a scenario like this just happened at the school. And she brings me to like, the reality of, what you're doing is great and you're a great mom. And you don't have to feel guilty for working and wanting to have this business.
And for other people putting you in that position, it reminds me of Bad Moms. I love that movie. It's so
Oh
funny.
yeah.
What's her name's character? Got her name. She's like the perfect mom, and she's like,
Oh,
"Oh, you're bringing me."
Mila Kunis.
No, the other one, the blonde one.
Oh yeah, I can't think
Yeah.
of her name.
She's like, store bought, no store bought, cakes allowed, no store bought cookies, and I was like, that I sometimes that's a whole nother story, but like putting shame or on others is like just so not okay in my book. But
Yeah, yeah, I agree.
yeah, so this is so helpful. It's been so beautiful talking to you. I just love
Yeah.
talking.
I love talking to you too. How long have we been doing this? It
I
almost
know,
feels like
right?
a few minutes. I feel like I could do this all.
Right? We could do it all day. Um, I really appreciate you spending time with us. I'm sure people will resonate with your story. And I want everybody to know that you can follow Maxine on New England Floridian on Instagram and get some of her wise knowledge and her fun stories and posts. And I'm going to look up your store too because you have cute clothes on there too, right?
Thank you. Yeah. And I try, my whole thing is affordable fashion. So if it's not something that I would personally buy, then it's not going to be something that you're going to find on my website. But yeah, it's newenglandfloridian.com. sweet. I try to do summer styles all year round because we live in Florida, but I
Okay.
also sprinkle some of like the New England style in there as well.
Yay, because I'm always looking for cute like tops when I'm on my doing my presentations and stuff. So yeah, I'm always,
Yeah.
you know. Well, thank you so
Yeah.
much. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you
Bye,
so much. This has been a lot of fun.
bye everyone.
Bye.